Get real for a second. How many times have you found yourself wondering, why do I keep attracting men who don't want more? Or worse, who don't seem to want me at all in that way? You're charming, you're smart, you're beautiful, and yet something's missing. And I'm here to tell you, it's not about being prettier, or wearing less, or playing games. The truth is, there's a secret, a real psychological trigger that makes men desire you on a deeper, more primal level, not just emotionally, but sexually. And it's not what most people are teaching you. This isn't manipulation. This is about stepping into a version of yourself that commands genuine attraction. Sexual confidence isn't about being provocative or flaunting your body. It's about the energy you carry, the way you move, speak, and show up in your own skin. It's not something you borrow from others or fake until you make it. True sexual confidence comes from within. It's the quiet assurance that says, I know who I am, I know what I offer, and I don't need to prove anything. And that energy is magnetic. When a woman owns her sexual confidence, she doesn't chase validation, she radiates it. Men sense this instantly. It's the difference between someone trying to be attractive and someone who knows she already is. Confidence isn't rooted in comparison. It's not about being prettier than someone else or trying to win a competition. It's about fully embodying your unique expression of femininity and power. When you're aligned with that, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop wondering if you're too much or not enough. You begin to walk into a room like you belong there, and that certainty becomes a gravitational force. Owning your sexual confidence also means giving yourself permission to feel desire without shame. We live in a world that often tells women to suppress their sensuality or only express it on someone else's terms. But when you embrace it as a natural, powerful part of who you are, you stop treating it like a taboo. You begin to explore it, honor it, and express it in ways that feel authentic to you. That doesn't mean being overt or always turned on. It means being attuned to your body, your pleasure, your instincts, and not apologizing for any of it. Men respond to that energy because it signals maturity, security, and freedom. A sexually confident woman isn't looking for someone to complete her or rescue her. She's looking to connect, not to cling. She's not afraid of intimacy, but she's also not dependent on it to define her worth. That creates a dynamic where a man feels both challenged and drawn in. He senses that he has to show up fully to meet her where she is, and that challenge sparks attraction at a deeper level. It's important to remember that sexual confidence doesn't come from external validation. No amount of compliments, attention, or praise can substitute for the deep inner work of self-acceptance. It's built through experience, self-awareness, and the willingness to own every part of yourself. The messy, the sensual, the powerful, and the soft. It's found in the moments where you choose to be seen rather than to perform, where you stop asking, what does he want me to be, and instead ask, am I being true to myself? That shift in mindset changes everything. When you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold and start showing up in your full expression, you become irresistible, not just in a physical sense, but in a soulful one. You become the woman who walks into a room and doesn't have to demand attention because her energy already speaks volumes. Flirting isn't just about saying the right thing or delivering a clever line. It's about energy, presence, and intent. When you flirt with energy, you go beyond the surface level and tap into something far more powerful, a connection that's felt rather than forced. It's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. The sparkle in your eyes, the subtle playfulness in your tone, the confidence in your posture. These are the cues that speak volumes. Men pick up on these energetic signals instantly, often more than they process the actual words. Think about the difference between someone who compliments with a flat tone versus someone whose whole demeanor lights up when they speak to you. The latter feels alive, magnetic, present. That's what energetic flirting is about. It's about being fully engaged in the moment, letting your natural charm flow through your body language, eye contact, and expressions. It's letting your curiosity and sense of fun show. When you lean in slightly, hold a gaze just a second longer, or offer a teasing smile, you're creating a spark, not with effort, but with intention. Flirting with energy also means being comfortable with silence and space. It's not about filling every second with witty banter. Sometimes the most seductive moment is a pause, a breath that lingers, a look that holds meaning, a smile that says, "I see you." That tension, that tiny space where neither person knows exactly what's next, is where real attraction lives. It's in those unscripted moments that chemistry builds, and it's your energy that fuels it. Many people approach flirting as a performance, trying to impress or gain approval. But when you flip that and come from a place of playfulness and self-assurance, you create an entirely different dynamic. You're not trying to get a reaction, you're creating an experience. Your energy becomes an invitation, not a demand. And that kind of invitation is irresistible because it feels safe yet thrilling, light yet electric. And you're not asking for attention, you're giving it. And in doing so, you draw others in naturally. It's also important to understand that energy can't be faked. People can feel when you're disconnected, overthinking, or pretending to be someone you're not. Authentic energy comes from being genuinely present and connected to how you feel. If you're enjoying the interaction, if you're grounded in your own body and expressing your real interest, that will always shine through. And that authenticity is far more seductive than any rehearsed line or strategy. Flirting with energy also means knowing your power and not being afraid to use it playfully. You don't have to dim your light or play small to make someone comfortable. When you allow your natural magnetism to come through your laughter, your expressions, your subtle gestures, you create an environment where attraction can thrive. It becomes less about tactics and more about chemistry. And the more you practice showing up in that energy, the more effortlessly it becomes a part of how you relate and connect. Setting boundaries that build intrigue isn't about playing games or being cold. It's about showing that you value yourself, your time, and your energy. It's about communicating without saying a word that you have standards and you're not afraid to enforce them. When you establish clear boundaries, you send a strong signal. You're someone with self-respect, and that instantly makes you more desirable. Men are drawn to women who know their worth because it challenges them to rise to the occasion. When everything is too available or too easy, it loses its sense of value. Boundaries create a sense of mystery and depth that invites curiosity and admiration. Attraction thrives on polarity, and boundaries help maintain that tension. They communicate, "I'm interested, but I won't abandon myself to keep your interest." That kind of confidence is powerful because it requires courage. It's easy to fall into the trap of overgiving, over-explaining, or saying yes to everything out of fear of losing someone's attention. But the moment you start putting your own needs and values second, the dynamic shifts. You stop being seen as someone to be pursued and start being seen as someone trying too hard. Boundaries prevent that shift from happening. Having boundaries doesn't mean being rigid or closed off. It means you're selective. You show that your attention and intimacy are earned, not given away freely to anyone who shows up. That naturally makes a man more curious. He begins to wonder what makes you tick, what it would take to be let in, and how he can earn your trust and time. That's where intrigue starts to build, not from withholding affection, but from having the strength to be discerning with it. Men often find it incredibly attractive when a woman can say no without guilt or hesitation. It signals strength, whether it's choosing not to respond immediately to a late-night message, declining an invitation that doesn't align with your values, or simply voicing what you're comfortable with. These small moments communicate volumes. They say, "I have a life I love, and I'm not afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't add to it." That's not rejection. It's self-respect, and it's incredibly compelling. Boundaries also create a rhythm in relationships. They allow space for a man to invest, to wonder, to take action. When there's no space, when everything is immediate, accessible, and unquestioned, there's no room for desire to grow. Intrigue needs space to breathe. Boundaries help create that space. They leave room for him to think about you, to miss you, to question what makes you so self-assured. That kind of curiosity is what turns casual interest into deep attraction. This isn't about manipulation or withholding. It's about knowing that your energy is valuable and choosing carefully where you place it. When you operate from that mindset, you naturally create boundaries that aren't walls but filters. You allow in what aligns and gracefully walk away from what doesn't. And in doing so, you become someone who commands respect and attention without ever having to ask for it. Emotional tension is the foundation for deep attraction, and it almost always needs to come before physical tension if you want to create a connection that lasts. It's not about playing hard to get, but about creating a build-up, a sense of anticipation that keeps a man engaged not just physically, but emotionally. Emotional tension is what makes a touch feel electric, a glance feel meaningful, and a kiss feel unforgettable. It's the psychological space where a man begins to wonder about you, to think about you when you're not around, and to invest more than just surface level interest. Beating emotional tension starts with being fully present and engaged, but not overly available. It's the subtle art of revealing pieces of yourself over time instead of all at once. When you share everything too quickly, your feelings, your intentions, your vulnerability, you remove the mystery that keeps someone intrigued. But when you allow the emotional connection to unfold naturally, revealing layers with intentionality, it creates a rhythm that draws him in. It's like reading a novel. You don't want to skip to the last chapter because the build-up is what makes the ending powerful. This tension also comes from contrast. You can be warm and open one moment and then a little reserved the next, not to confuse, but to show dimension. That emotional range creates depth, and depth creates fascination. When a man sees that you can be playful, thoughtful, passionate, and independent all at once, he begins to realize there's more to you than what's on the surface. That realization is where emotional attraction starts to take root. Another key aspect of emotional tension is holding your ground with grace. It's being able to say no when something doesn't feel right, while still keeping the connection alive. When you show that you can honor your own feelings without cutting off the interaction, you demonstrate emotional maturity. That kind of self-control is deeply attractive because it shows you're not reactive or desperate for approval. Instead, you're guided by your values and your instincts, and that puts you in a position of quiet power. The more emotionally grounded you are, the more you can play in the space between closeness and distance. That dynamic creates tension naturally because it keeps the energy alive. It allows space for desire to grow without forcing it. You're not rushing to define everything, but letting things unfold, letting him come toward you, letting the connection develop its own rhythm. That kind of patience is magnetic because it suggests confidence and trust in yourself. Men are far more responsive to emotional energy than most people realize. They don't always articulate it, but they feel it deeply. When you can connect with a man emotionally, through shared experiences, meaningful conversation, humor, subtle vulnerability, you bypass the surface level attraction and move into a more lasting kind. You create a sense of intimacy that doesn't rely on physical closeness alone. And that's what makes the eventual physical connection 10 times more powerful. Emotional tension lays the groundwork for real chemistry, and once it's there, everything else falls into place more naturally. There's a subtle but powerful shift that happens when you move from chasing validation to choosing someone with intention. Making a man feel chosen, not chased, sends a message that you are in control of your desires, not driven by a need to be accepted. When a man feels chased, it puts him in a position of power he hasn't earned. But when he feels chosen by a woman who clearly has options, who clearly values herself and isn't handing her affection to just anyone, it activates his desire to pursue, to prove, and to invest. That feeling of being selected by someone who doesn't need him but genuinely wants him, that's rare. And that's magnetic. This kind of energy begins with how you carry yourself in your interactions. It's about being interested without being over-invested. When you ask questions, listen attentively, and enjoy his company, you're showing interest. But when you rearrange your life, compromise your boundaries, or try to convince him of your worth, that crosses into chasing. The moment you feel like you're working too hard to earn his attention, it's a sign that the dynamic is out of balance. A woman who knows her value doesn't audition for affection. She observes, she discerns, and then she decides. Choosing someone also means staying emotionally centered. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a connection, to project potential onto a person who hasn't shown the qualities you're truly looking for. But when you slow down and let someone reveal themselves, you stay in a position of power. You're not rushing to be chosen. You're watching how they show up. You're asking yourself, does this man align with the life I'm building? That perspective not only keeps you grounded, it makes you more attractive because you're not looking to fill a void. You're looking to share something meaningful from a place of wholeness. Men feel the difference. When you show up with a calm confidence that says, I like you, but I'll be fine without you, it challenges them to meet you at your level. It's not a game, it's a standard. You're showing that your attention is something to be earned, not assumed. That kind of woman stands out in a world where too many people settle for crumbs just to feel seen. When you embody that energy, you stop trying to convince anyone of your worth. Instead, you create a dynamic where mutual interest, respect, and attraction can naturally unfold. Being the chooser also means knowing when to walk away. When a man isn't meeting your needs or showing up with consistency, you don't chase after potential, you gracefully step back. That choice reinforces your power and makes space for someone who's willing to rise to the opportunity of being with a woman who knows her value. Making a man feel chosen, not chased, allows the relationship to unfold with balance, mutual effort, and real desire. It gives him the opportunity to pursue in a meaningful way, and it gives you the space to stay in your feminine power without compromising your standards. When you radiate a life that's already full, you become naturally magnetic. It shows that you're not waiting for someone to complete you, fix you, or save you. You are living in alignment with your passions, your purpose, and your joy. That kind of energy is incredibly attractive because it signals independence, self-sufficiency, and emotional security. Men are drawn to women who have their own identity, their own rhythm, their own light. When your life is already fulfilling, you're not looking to be rescued. You're looking to share, to expand, to build something with someone who complements what you've already created. A full life creates natural boundaries. It means your time is valuable, your schedule is meaningful, and your emotional focus is intentional. You're not available at every moment, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're genuinely engaged with your own world. You have hobbies, goals, routines, and relationships that nourish you. That presence in your own life is what makes someone else want to step into it, not to fix anything, but to be a part of something vibrant and real. When a man sees that you're not waiting around, that you're already moving forward with or without him, it creates urgency. He realizes that your time and presence are not guaranteed. They are earned. A full life also gives you perspective. When you're grounded in your own sense of happiness, you don't tolerate behavior that disrupts your peace. You're not operating from scarcity, hoping that any attention is better than no attention. You know what you bring to the table, and that makes you selective. You don't need a relationship, you desire one, and only if it adds value to what you already have. That shift in mindset changes the way you interact. You're not overanalyzing texts, compromising on your standards, or shrinking to fit into someone else's version of love. You're showing up with your full self, and that confidence is compelling. When you're lit up by your own life, you naturally become more vibrant. And you have stories to tell, passions to share, and a sense of curiosity that brings energy to every conversation. You're not pulling from a place of emptiness, you're overflowing. That energy invites others in. It makes them want to be around you, to learn more about you, to figure out what it is that makes you so alive. And the truth is, it's not any one thing. It's a collection of all the moments you've chosen to build a life you love. Men notice when a woman is fulfilled. It changes the dynamic completely. Instead of trying to impress her, he's inspired by her. And instead of feeling needed, he feels wanted. And that distinction makes all the difference. A woman who radiates a full life doesn't fear being alone, and that freedom makes her presence even more desirable. She's not here to be someone's missing piece. She's here to amplify, to enrich, to experience love as an extension of the life she's already loving.